So I just have one word. Penguin Z0.
Oh my God.
Bro, are you trying to piss everybody off? Jason Wojo. How old are you?
26.
How many awards have you won? Because I see you in the LA Weekly Times and the New York Times and the Forbes New York and dude, what are you known for?
Known for paid advertising.
Yeah. You've scaled how many companies to six figures?
1,320 plus to
And
six figures.
And how many to 7 and 8 figures?
And now it's 58.
Okay.
7 and 8, yeah.
So you're young, you're building a name for yourself, and I'm kind of curious. Did you get in? Like, how did you even land in the idea of cold traffic?
So I was 5.5, 6 years ago. I was in culinary school.
Okay. Are you serious?
Yeah, I was in culinary school, and to this very day, I don't cook at all. I don't know how to cook at all.
How did you get into culinary school?
I was working at a cafe when I was younger, making like $5 an hour under the table. Funny thing is that the person that I was working for wound up becoming my sales rep years later.
Yeah.
And he shut down his cafe, but I was working at a breakfast place, making $5 an hour. Did that for 2 years. And he was like, hey man, you might as well go to culinary school because that's the only thing you know how to do is just flip eggs. And I was like, all right, well, I didn't have much self-awareness. I'm like, fuck it. I'll go to culinary school.
Okay.
So I did, and I was a year in, and I realized that it wasn't for me because some person came to do like a presentation at the school, and I was sitting in the auditorium. This guy was like, yeah, you're going to like make $15 an hour. You're going to work your ass off in the industry. And I was like, yo, I don't want to make $15 an hour. Like, I want to make millions of dollars. So I called my parents. I was like, hey, like, I'm not doing this anymore. Went back home, lived with them, business school. And then I started making videos on Instagram and trying to inspire people in college. Like, hey, like, you don't have to make that amount of money. You can make a lot more if you have a high income skill set, like get into sales, get into this, like things that I'm tapping into right now. And I started getting a lot of followers because back then, 5.5, 6 years ago, it was easier to get followers organically than it is now. So built this, decent fan base, I guess you can call it. And then this brand sent me hoodies. It was called Hustle Island. Got the hoodies, made the videos, and then I sent them back to Greg, who was the owner. He's like, dude, these ads crushed for us. And I was like, what the hell is an ad? And that's when I met him for lunch in Connecticut because I lived in New York at the time. And then he wound up hiring me. And that's where I met Troy, too. We worked at the same company from the very beginning, yeah.
So I just have one word. Penguin Z0.
Oh, my God.
Bro, are you trying to piss everybody off? That's what I want to know.
I'm so shocked that you found that video. There's actually 2 of them. Because they were back-to-back reactions.
I saw the retaliation.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
No,
dude,
it started with. Did it start with the Corolla video?
It started with the Corolla video.
Why did you even make it in the first place?
We were in my backyard.
Who's we?
Okay, so it was me, Jordan, and then Gabe at the time who lived with me.
Yeah, and how old were you?
25.
And what went down?
We were in the backyards. We were smoking hookah. We were drinking. We were having fun. And Jordan's like, yo, take your shirt off and you have to like shit on people who drive Corollas. And I was like, all right, like I'll do it. Like, I'm not going to lie. I was a little tipsy. And we made this video in the backyard. They strapped the mic to my chest and I'm skinny. Like, I know that. And we did it. And Jordan's like, yo, dude, that's going to crush. And I was like, all right, like we'll post it. We'll see what it does.
What was the tagline?
It was, geez. If you find the video, there's different variations that people split up and like tested.
But the bottom line is,
if you
drive a Corolla,
I could take your girl. That was the whole angle of it. Because I have like a McLaren and a Bentley, and it'd be like a cool comparison. And all these guys that were just like gym fanatics and stuff like that, they really went after it and saying like, oh, like you don't need a nice car or make a lot of money to make a woman happy and all this stuff. And it caused so much controversy.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, how many views did you get on that?
Over 800 million.
800 million.
Yeah.
So you ruffled some feathers.
Oh, yeah.
And some could say you got lucky, but then you did it again.
Yeah. So I did it again because this guy, Sunny V2, picked up the video like literally a month ago. Actually, it was 3 weeks ago. He picked up the video and did a reaction to it too. And the funny part is that if you look at all of his last videos for the last 5-6 weeks, he made videos about Drake, about the White House, and all these different videos. I got the most views out of all of them. And it was just funny.
Well, dude, if you drive a Corolla, I can steal your girl.
Yeah.
And then tell me about the gym video. Because Moist Critical with 14 million subs did not like that.
Yeah, so the gym video wasn't premised on hating on the gym because people take 5-6 seconds and then they run with it. The whole premise of it was like, hey, like if you go to the gym, that's cool, But just because you go to the gym doesn't mean that you're building impact and influence in the world and protecting and providing for people. Like, you have to actually have a high income skill set and make money, because the world is surrounded around money. It's capitalism.
But you did attack some of the gym rats by basically saying that they're hiding behind what?
They're just hiding behind their physique. Like, there's been so many people that I've
There's
coached.
people that might look at your body and be like,
Oh, yeah, bro,
dude,
of course.
that's a lazy ass kid that
Yeah.
won't go to the gym. That's his attack so that he has an excuse to say, yo, I got high income skills.
Yeah.
I got the Rolex. I got the Bentley. I don't need no gym.
I mean, I always use that approach because, I don't know, it's like when I sit there in my room alone, do I look at myself as a high impact individual who's a leader, who has high income skill sets, or do I stare in the mirror in the bathroom? And I'm just that person who's like, hey, I'm good at sales, I'm good at copy, I'm good at ads. Like, I actually help people make a ton of money in their business. I'm helping people change their lives for their families. I don't look at myself and say, hey, like, do I have X amount of muscle? I've never sat there and done that.
Yeah.
And maybe,
But do you think
shame on me.
Do you think it's fair to attack the people that do?
I think it's fair if they complain about the shit that is also controllable just as much as their actual body. Because the body's controllable. They can go to the gym and they can get fit muscles. But why? Because the whole controversy was divided about people who, oh yeah, like, they go to the gym, they make a ton of money. Like, you go to the gym, you make a ton of money. So that's fine, right? But if there's a guy who's sitting there making $5,000 a month and he's going to the gym and he's complaining about what I'm saying, it's like, dude, you're not actually happy. You can't sit there and be satisfied with that.
Yeah.
And they do that, and they just deflect and deflect and deflect. And it's like, well, it gives me high energy so I can be more productive. But I'm like, you're not being productive in the right areas. You're not valuable to the marketplace.
So you're basically saying if you go to the gym and you have a great body, but you haven't figured out how to create value in the marketplace, there's a disconnect.
Yeah, it's a complete disconnect.
Yeah.
Because that causes, like,
How come they
more
can't say
friction.
the same thing about you? How come they can't be like, oh, I make really good money and I figured out how to have all these amazing skills, so hence I don't need to go to the gym.
So the controversy with that angle is that they use that because now that I have materialistic stuff, now I'm hiding stuff as far as an insecurity because now I'm not going to the gym.
Yeah.
But it's like, I grew up in a pretty small town in New York, in Newburgh, and there wasn't really a gym there. Like, we didn't really do that stuff. Like,
Someone might say that's victimhood.
yeah.
I didn't have the possibilities. It was where I was born. I couldn't have created a solution. Did you ever watch the movie Rocky?
Yes.
That dude was lifting like trees and
Yeah.
like doing pull-ups on branches. Like, he invented a gym out of nowhere. Welcome to the Chris Crone Show. Jason, listen, super glad to have you here today. Brother, you are in a very interesting line of work because really what you do is you got to get a reaction out of people. I mean, frankly, with the 1,300 companies you've scaled, they pay you so that you can show them how to get a reaction because otherwise their business doesn't stand out.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, because the attention span of a human just gets lesser and lesser every single day. So we have to do something as a pattern interrupt to keep their attention. Like, we just have to.
Yeah. And so this whole viral video game that you've been playing, do you think you got more of that up your sleeve?
Yeah.
Are you liking it or are you hating it?
Well, I've had to take off like stickers on my McLaren that have like my IG logo on it because we use the tax write-off on ad spend in 2 ways.
So when the people see that sticker,
Oh, dude, I was getting grilled in person. Like, I would park my car at the pier and
do you
valet.
kind of
and
wish that
people
you
would
had
know.
some muscles? I'm just kidding, man. I'm just kidding. No, so yeah, like there's not a lot of people that understand that when you are in the influencer game, that I mean, depending on how polarizing you are, you can get your fair amount of hate. I mean, I post a lot of my sister-in-law at Thanksgiving was reaming me. She's like, "Oh my gosh, your stuff on TikTok, like why do you even do that? It's embarrassing." I said, "Because those are my real opinions and that's how I actually feel."
Yeah.
And she looked at me and gave me a tentative high five and said, "Oh yeah, that's so authentic and cool of you." Right? Like, if some people make noise just for the sake of making noise, and then some people are just being authentic and true to who they are.
Yeah.
This polarizing bit does go hand in hand with the success you've had in your business. And there's been definitely some downsides. Have you received any death threats?
Not death threats. No, I mean, I've had like about 4 or 5 months ago, I had somebody in Chipotle like literally get really pissed at me. And I was in line and this guy turns around. He's like, "Yo, I've seen your TikTok video. Like, my girl's in the car if you want to try it." And I was
Wow.
like, "Whoa, dude."
It's
I was like,
it's
"Bro."
do you drive a Corolla?
Yeah. But dude, like, I was there and I was like, dude, like, it's not that serious, man. Like, if that really offends you that hard, like, there's other problems at stake.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just weird to be like confronted in a Chipotle line like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Was she hot?
No, I actually didn't go out to the car. I was like, dude, like I'm here. I just got to go. I have a Zoom call. Like that's just stupid.
Yeah, so interesting. I mean, at your age to have figured out so many cool things. I think my question is for those that don't understand the cold traffic game. There's a ton of entrepreneurs out there, and when you see them rise to a crazy amount of success in a very short period of time, they either did it by getting some organic notoriety or they did it through cold traffic. In other words, they bought it, they paid for it. But that doesn't guarantee that it'll work. Like you have to have some ninja marketing skills to produce headlines, videos, something that's going to get people to think different about you, get you to stand out of the crowd, get people to think that your service has got to be superior or better or different than everyone else's. I want to actually contact you. How do you duplicate that again and again and again for your clientele?
So you really break it down to the four most important parts. One is their offer, because running paid ads and pushing that is really
So pause.
sexy.
So we've got entrepreneurs listening to this podcast, and if you're an entrepreneur and you're like, dang it, like my business grew 10% last year, 50% last year, but I wanted it to grow 500%. Paid traffic is basically where you're going to pay advertising dollars, you're going to drop some dough, and if you have the right kind of marketing agency that can help you get clever enough and figure out your marketing ads, they can basically say, okay, how would you like to build an ATM machine? You put $10,000 in, and it gives you $50,000 back. And by the way, if you put 10 grand in and you got 50 grand back, that kind of hit, it kind of does something to you, because what would you do on your next go around? You'd be dumb if you put 10 grand in. Some people would put 50 grand in, wanting to get $250,000 back. Mm-hmm. And at some point, you lose something on your ROAS, but the bottom line is if you have a product and you go to an expert like you that can help them figure out cold traffic, they can basically build an ATM machine where they put $1 in and they get several dollars back. Yeah. I think your average is $1 in, $4 back, right?
Yeah. So we get about a 4.1 average ROAS. So for every dollar we give the platform, we get $4.10 back, and that's regardless of niche.
And that's high. I would say that's higher than average, right?
Yeah.
Most companies out there are probably getting a 2 or 3x ROAS.
Yeah, it's about a 2.87 is the average, but this is across 90 plus niches. This is e-com stores selling $20 products up to coaches, consultants, service
So you're saying
providers.
you're better than everyone else?
I mean, if I had to go through all the leading authorities in the ad space, I have the biggest following, I have the most views, I have the most spend. I mean, I would say, yeah.
Okay. So my curiosity is how you scale that. And you said that there's 4 things. And so the first one is?
The first one's having an irresistible offer. Something that if you put in front of your ideal avatar, they would be more inclined to take over somebody else who is in your space.
Give me an example of a dumb offer that you upgraded to a really enticing offer.
So, just to bring things down to layman terms would be, let's say credit repair, okay? Client comes to me, they're like, hey, I help people fix their credit. Okay, well, I will help you increase your credit score in the next 30 days and an average boost of 110 points. And if I don't, I will do it for free and give you $1,000 back for wasting your time. Like that would be how you take a simple offer and turn it into something sexy and more irresistible. It's where there's no risk. There's a guarantee.
So someone else might be just doing something lame like get a free credit report and a consultation on how you can increase bad credit to good credit. It's like, that's not tantalizing.
No, yeah, it's boring.
Yeah, but in 30 days, I guarantee you that you'll get a 120 point increase, and if you don't, I'll give you $1,000 in something else.
Yeah, and I'll do it for free, and I'll keep doing it until you get the
Okay, so part of the enticing offer is you have to make it a no-brainer.
Yeah.
What's the second thing?
Second thing is their actual ecosystem, like their landing pages, their copy, their messaging. So people have an offer that's sexy. Maybe they have a good video script, they have a good hook, right? And they're testing multiple hooks.
They click the link, they go to a website, and it's
and then it's completely incongruent. The opt-in sucks. The page load speeds are slow. The sales letter's not on point. It's not hitting the pain points. There's no like overall fact and thesis behind it.
Okay, so it's not enough just to run ads. You got to make sure that the initial offer matches the link to the website.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the third thing?
The third thing is their ads being omnipresent. So yeah, you have your creative, you have your copy, and you have that dialed in, but like you're not sharing the data across platforms. Because let's say you're a business owner right now running $3,000, $2,000 a day in ad spend, even $1,000. Okay, Facebook shuts you down. Where else do you go? You don't know because you haven't found your voice.
Okay, so you're saying that you've got to figure out
platforms.
how to get your ad spend split over how many different ways generally?
I would say about 3 to 4 traffic sources.
3 to 4 traffic sources. So could that be like YouTube ads?
YouTube ads, Google search, Facebook, and Instagram combined, and then TikTok.
Okay, so at least with those 5, if you can average a 4x ROAS,
because you're sharing all the data across to where your retargeting spend on each platform is just cheaper overall, and it's universally like derived. The biggest thing that we get from business owners that come into my ecosystem is, hey, like I've been seeing your ads all over. I can't escape you no matter where I go. That proof of concept gets them in the ecosystem because like, yo, do that for me.
Yeah.
So it's like you're able to drop your ad cost 20, 30%. And if you have the right KPIs on the back end, you can scale faster. And that's the fourth piece, which is the KPIs, which is what are those key performance indicators that make your ad spend actually predictably make money on the front end and the back end?
You're saying if I spend $1, I need to know how I'm recovering it, and I need to know what I'm tracking to know if I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Because if you're blind, it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, because most beginning business owners are like, hey, just run my ads and get me leads. I'm like, whoa, slow down. What's a qualified lead? What's your cost per show? What's your cost per qualified booking? And then what's your cost per close? You know, how much are you giving to that sales rep? How long until you have a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day ascension? Like, what is that customer actually worth, lifetime value basis wise? They don't know those numbers. They just say, oh, get me leads. And I'm like, you don't understand how to run a business at all because you don't know your numbers. You want to be able to sit there with a calculator and say 2 + 2 = 4 with your bank account and your business and your ads.
Yeah.
And most people can't do that.
Hey, what's up? Chris Crone here, pausing my own podcast to ask you a question. Do you know what it looks like to partner in real estate with me? Check it out. I've got people all over the world that watch me on social, and they realize, wait a second, Chris, I've got money sitting in 401ks, IRAs, equity in my home that is doing nothing. As in, it's earning single-digit ROIs, and it's not going to compound meaningfully to give me the retirement that I want, because at the age of 65, the average person has $255,000 in retirement. It's not a ton. But partnering with me means putting that money into real estate and letting money perform for you in incredible ways. If you want to access double-digit returns in real estate and yet not have to do any of the work, leave it up to me and my team. Click the link below, learn about partnering. Let me show you my track record on my last $2 billion worth of deals. Back to Penguin Zero Z. You pissed this guy off. Like, you guys dueled, you did some back and forth. Did you get any love for these videos that you posted, or was it mostly hate?
It was mostly hate. I mean, some people were kind of on my side. Some people weren't. Most of the people who were on my side were entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They were like, yo, like, you have to make money. Like, I get it, man. I got 3 kids. I got this. I got a mortgage. Like, I get what you're saying here, but you just didn't deliver it the right way. The most of the hate that I got were from, like, low, bottom feeder, like, no offense, but low-class people that are making no money, that, you know, work at fast food places that are just, like, barely making ends meet. And they're looking at people on the internet like me, you, other people, like, oh, like, how dare they make money off people on the internet? How dare they make these claims when they're X, Y, and Z? And, you know, they're not helping me because I'm in a bad, dark spot. It's like, that's where most of the hate came from, but that's 99% of people. So that majority of hate was just so amplified because those people piggyback each other.
Do you regret it? You wish you hadn't done it, or do you feel like
Oh,
you're
I
ready to
definitely
do
don't
more?
regret it. Yeah. I mean, the amount of data we got, like, we actually made more money off it. Little do people realize, like, people were like, oh, like, you're getting so much hate. Like, there are people who are going on my sales calendar, booking calls, like, literally cursing in the word. Like, fuck jasonwodrow.com as, like, their website URL and stuff like that. And I'm like, you guys realize that we could just cancel that call off in automation. Number 2 is you're just giving me more, you know, fuel to the fire. And the more attention I get, the more traffic I get, the more there's going to be 2 groups of people, 90% that still hate me and 10% that lean on my side and wind up buying. So, like, we made a lot more money from those videos.
So it's interesting. Donald Trump, right? I'm like, dude, that dude loved negative press. And I think that it helped him win his first term. But this is the question. Can you polarize too much?
To the point where you can't keep one side still on your side. Like, the 10% of people that I keep on my side, I can't lose those 10 because now I have to spend more marketing dollars to get them back or, like, revolutionize my messaging to the point where I'm kind of digging myself a hole. So there's, like, this balance where you kind of have to, like, look at your numbers and see, like, what's working and what's actually not, because I could piss off the whole 100% of them and then I'm actually, like, in a bad spot.
So you like your fancy cars, you like your toys.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any kind of spending rules, or is it just like, you know what, actually blow it. Dude, I am making as much as I can. I'm going to spend it all, and I'll just have another genius, clever moment and, you know, a couple of successful marketing campaigns, and I'll win.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest spending rule was always the 3X rule, which is, hey, if you're about to buy a car, so for example, the Bentley I just got was $270,000. So if I'm going to buy a $270,000 car, can I afford to spend that 3 times in cash? So if I don't have at least $1 million in liquid, then don't buy the car, right? Even though you're taking out a loan on it and I'm using it for the 6,000 pound tax write-off, I still need to know that I have 3X in the bank ready to, you know, obviously take care of that liability. That's why I look at everything. Like if you go out to a steakhouse and get a $40 steak, are you okay spending 120? Like I've always done that rule, and it's allowed me to save a lot of cash to deploy to the business, and also look at my ad spend differently. Look at certain decisions that I make in my business differently. Certain things that I'll buy.
Advertisement tax hacks. This is something that people don't talk about. People are talking about all the other tax write-offs. What's the tax hack with advertising?
Okay. So before I go into this, you have to consult an accountant. But what we do is all of our all of our advertising dollars are 67% write-offs. If I put something in my ad,
Why aren't they 100% write-off? It's an expense. Business expenses are write-offs.
yeah, I mean, the way that we make it closer to 100-ish is like using the cars in the ads. So we use it for R&D. So I can actually go to an account and be like, hey, like, listen, we have data to back up that this McLaren ad got $2.90 a click and the Bentley one got $2.30 a click. And we're able to show the R&D backed by the ad spend. So we're able to get extra tax write-offs.
Yeah, no. So it's always this game with the IRS, right? Like when I travel, I take the jet somewhere, and a jet ride is $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 if you're just flying domestically somewhere in the United States. Then you're going to go play and stay and do whatever it is you're going to do, and it's like this conversation of when does it become a legitimate tax write-off? And if I make a dozen marketing videos driving to my next webinar, and it's going to be $1 million webinar. Then I'm like, okay, I actually can take every video while I was on site at that location. And it turns out that I'm trying to write off $80,000 from that trip, but I also can show like specifically that my marketing brought in $290,000. And so, anyone I think with half a brain would say you made more than your expenses. Now I think that if I brought in $12,000 of revenue on my $80,000 spend, I'd be upside down. They'd be like, bro, you can't write that off. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't justify, right? Yeah. So I think that is a part of the game.
Also, it's like a time mechanism too, because you value your time more. Like for you to go fly commercial and spend 3-4 hours at an airport, even with a layover, is worth X amount an hour. So you're paying for that time too.
And the reality is, I just don't take those trips anymore.
Yeah.
I like private jet means that I have the ability to say yes to things that I would normally say no to. It all happened a couple years ago that a buddy of mine was in a bare knuckle fight, and he had previously done UFC, and he says, listen, this is the tournament. It's going to determine who first place in the world is on bare knuckle. So he's like, will you come see me? And I was like, it was like down in Mississippi, I think. And I said, sure. But saying yes meant flying commercial, leaving early that morning. I had to lay over in Atlanta. I finally got to, our spot. Then I had to, it was a long car drive because it was a public, not a private airport. And barely had time to wolf down some food, get to the fight. After the fight, had to spend the night, and then with layovers and everything, got home next evening. Yeah. And it was almost like a 2-day thing. And after that, I said, this is it. Like, if I had had a private jet, I would have left in the afternoon, had food on the jet, watched the fight, and then flown home and slept in my bed.
Yeah.
And so it's not just what's the value of your time. There's just so many things. Like I'm traveling on Friday to Dallas, and it's for a 1-hour speaking engagement. If I fly commercial, that's a 2-day minimum experience, but with the jet, it's same day in and out. And so it does. It is a big time saver, but it's also about opportunity cost of what do you want to do with your life. There are people out there like me that they'll speak like 100 times a year. They live on the road, and I'm like, that's not my lifestyle. But with the jet, I can say yes to the main ones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Tell me why the McLaren, why'd you pick that particular?
Most rappers just rap about Lambos, and most people think that their dream car should be a Lambo. And I said, I want to be different.
Really?
I think everybody just buys a Lambo.
I like McLarens, but man, Lambos drive me nuts. In fact, they're uncomfortable. And they kind of barely fit me. And they're loud in first gear.
Yeah, dude, you're like a big dude. Yeah, you're jacked. Yeah. It's tough to get in one
How
of those.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? He's like, Chris Crone, do you know how many insecurities he must be hiding from? I mean, it's got to be massive.
But dude, like the McLaren has a lot of problems. It's in the shop a lot. It's expensive to maintain, but it gets a lot of eyeballs, and it's good for marketing. It's different. It's just more curiosity for marketing purposes with the ads. Like it gets more comments, gets more shares, gets more engagement. It drives the ad revenue higher.
Where are you going next in your life? Like, what's next for you?
So funny enough, this morning had a call with my entire leadership team, and I actually just let them know that I'm done at CEO. I'm stepping down January 1st, and I'm gonna travel. I'm gonna like figure out who I am because to be honest, like my dating life is not the best. I haven't found that part of my life out. I need to like really see the world because I've been stuck behind a laptop for 5.5 years, just like building wealth and active income and like doing stuff that would set me up so I didn't have to like wait till I was 40.
Yep.
My goal was always to retire by like 30. Yeah, I'll have passive income, but just like not actively working in the active income at the age of 30.
This is very odd. I mean, I have a hard time convincing my successful entrepreneur buddies to become owners of their business instead of the operator.
Yeah.
And they fight me tooth and nail every step of the way. And I think part of it is they are part of that older generation where, my father was an immigrant that was just like hard work, hard work, hard work. But there's a lot of people still in their 30s and 40s and 50s where it's just like, if they're not working, they feel like their life isn't worth it.
Yeah.
And they have to justify it. And it's weird. Most entrepreneurs make 80 to 90% of their money in 10 to 20% of their time. But then they work the rest of the time and sometimes work beyond that, like 60 plus hour weeks just to justify feeling okay because they're making really, really good money. And it's something about this societal notion where we feel like we have to be that way. Did you have a hard time making the decision that you were going to walk?
Oh yeah, it was all a control problem.
It's always a control problem. It's a trust problem. It's just like, it's like, are you guys going to do, like, is this going to get run into the ground without my brains?
Yeah. In order to replace myself, I had my COO at the time who's going to transition. I had him live with me. I'm like, dude, if I'm going to give up this position, I need you to live with me and see what I do and see the way I talk and see my knowledge. And then you can do it after a couple months, 4 to 6 months. So that was my only condition. I know that's bottlenecking for people listening sometimes to do that, but that was the only way I was actually comfortable doing it. I was like, dude, you got to live with me. This is no way that I'm just going to like do this passively virtually and then let you run it because I had such a bad control problem. Like I built the thing for 5.5 years and now I'm like, hey, listen, like here, I'm still the owner, but I know where my genius is better. It's doing ads and copy and building low ticket offers and doing all that. Yeah.
How do you decide which of your clients to actually help? I mean, you have so many. So how do you decide where you get involved and where you hand it off to one of your other team members?
Most of the times when I get involved are when clients buy like our private packages. I work with about 5 to 7 private clients who pay anywhere from $20,000, $30,000 a month who like work with me one-on-one. And that's like one call a month and I'm writing their funnels and that keeps me in my zone of genius. Also, it's all profit because it's only me doing it. So it's just my time.
Do you find that when you're the artist that the offers go better than when it's your people?
Yeah.
By how much? I'm just curious.
Probably about 2 to 3x.
2 to 3x.
Yeah. Because like when I'm writing it, I can sit there all day, but they have 20 other accounts to go through and like they're doing a bunch of different things at once. It's not discrediting the people that work for me. It's that for me to just like plant everything that I've learned through copy and messaging and like know what to do on a landing page here and know what not to do. It's a hard skill to transfer. That's why most agencies can't really scale that far. It's just like it's like a knowledge transfer, but that's like what we've invested a lot of R&D in and training. And like, I've gotten my guys to a certain point now where, we're still able to get like that 2 to 3x ROAS on campaigns. But like when I touch it, it'll go anywhere from like 4 to sometimes 15. So it's like it's like a gift and a curse kind of ordeal. But, it's just because I've been in the niche so long. I've ran so many offers, so much traffic to where I just know like, hey, fix that, tweak that headline, like it'll work.
So in business, I spent some time with Tony Robbins in his camp, and he said there's 3 different roles in a company. You are either the owner, you're the manager, or you're the artist. And the artist is the hardest to break away from. And a lot of artists, so that's the entrepreneur that said, I have a particular skill that I'm just really good at. When they try to play manager like you are CEO, they end up going batshit crazy because they hate people. Now, don't get me wrong.
Dude, I was just about to bring that up.
They love humans, but managing and micromanaging their people is a total different skill set than being the artist that says, no. When I'm writing the freaking funnel and I'm in my zone of genius, I am loving my life and I love the results and I'm into it. The moment I got to sit down with you, my direct reports and one-on-one and oh my gosh, like very few people can actually do both. I couldn't. Like
Dude,
I'm way more of an artist and owner than I am actually a manager. So like tell me about that dark side of your life when you're playing manager mode and hating it.
Dude, like dealing with people was probably one of the most draining activities. Even people that I love and respect that work for me and I appreciate their time. Sometimes it's just very hard to please everybody and I just couldn't get over that. And I was just like annoyed at just the neediness. and just the drama from people that would go from their personal lives to work, and then I'm dealing with it, and it's like I'm not good with people at all. Like I'm good in front of like a funnel. So I sat there and I was like, hey, like employee comes to me asking for PTO or like something with this. I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. It's draining. Or like simple stuff like, hey, let's hop on a one-on-one for like an hour. I got a question to ask you. And I'm like, damn, do I really want to hop on that one-on-one call for an hour? Like I kind of don't. I want to go to dinner. Like I don't want to.
You'd rather be an artist,
Yeah.
or you'd rather be an owner, but you don't want to be a manager.
Yeah, no.
So, brother, that's a big move to actually get out of your own way.
Yeah.
My experience happened 6 years ago. It was actually a Tony Robbins intervention where he came up to me and literally just, dude, he started asking those questions. He's like, whose love did you crave more, your mother or your father's? And like started going like deep into the psyche of my soul. And 30 minutes later, I was just ranting and raving about how pissed off I was at all of my people, and none of them could work as hard as me. They couldn't meet my expectations. And that's when I realized, like, I love humans, but the moment I have to manage them, I hate them.
Yeah.
So please don't put me in that role.
Yeah.
And I removed myself, and I fired myself the following Monday, and I promoted my CEO, and oh my gosh, he 4x'd my company that year, because it's a different skill to manage people and outcomes than it is to be an artist.
You should be more patient, more empathetic. Things that I didn't think about when I was dealing with problems, because when I dealt with a problem, I just looked at the problem and I isolated it and tried to find a solution, not thinking about their emotions or feelings.
All right. So you're no longer an artist. I'm sitting down with you as a business owner. What do you think really led to your success? Like if other entrepreneurs are listening in, it's just like, what are the real skill sets or character pieces for you that are like, hey, for me, these are the things that I can correlate completely to my success.
Crazy part is that I wasn't really like massively intelligent. I just had two things. Number one was I just had a lot more common sense than most people. And I feel like a lot of people lack that. And number two is willing to do the things that most people don't want to do to get the result that they actually want. Because the things that people say out of their mouth never map to their actions.
So
most of the time
I'm
it
curious,
doesn't.
if you have a list of 10 things that you need to do tomorrow, what are you going to start with?
10 things in my personal life?
Yeah, for work tomorrow, you got 10 things that you need to do, and some are hard and some are easy. What are you going to start with?
I mean, I'm always going to start with the easiest ones that pull the lowest fruits. Like, I don't try to only focus on the hard things.
Okay, so this is a very different answer. So you're not just going to go for hard's sake, and you're not going for easy's sake. You're actually asking which one moves the needle.
Yeah, which one is the
You're
faster?
you're a total rainmaker driver.
Yeah.
That's what you're. Your linchpin. You are just driving towards result.
Yeah. If we had a toss-up task, like if it's fixing our ad campaigns to drive the sales team better quality book calls, or if it's hopping on a 1-hour call because someone wants PTO, I'm not picking that call.
Yeah.
Like I'm fixing our ads. Or if I'm going to be on this podcast, like today, I had to block out my calendar and someone on the team was like, hey, are you going to miss our pod meeting? I'm like, yeah. Because that pod meeting, if we missed it for one day, like the amount of reach I'll get from the podcast is going to do better.
So it's interesting to see you're not that intelligent. I think you're incredibly intelligent. I think people understand intelligence differently. Like I think we automatically think of college and academia, and I'm like, no, the question isn't if you're intelligent, it's how. Like speaking copy, sales copy, that's something most people can't do. And that's probably one of your hyper skill sets.
Yeah.
Is that you know how to verbalize things in a way to just grab people's attention and pull them in. You can't train that skill very easily. It's almost one of those, like, you almost have to find someone who has it, because if you had to train it, can you imagine how frustrating that would be? Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
There's
it's
nothing
tough.
worse than a copywriter that sucks.
Dude, it's honestly really rough. Yeah, like teaching them all the psychological triggers and like human nature and like all the books that I've read on human nature and all the experiences that I've had, like it's really hard to retrain that. But dude, it just comes down to being more polarizing in a sense that gets people to listen. Like, and this is a little quick ad hack, even for you. I don't know what you run in your ads, but a good thing that I've been testing recently that goes against what everybody's ever learned is saying something in the beginning of an ad that actually is against what you're selling. So like, for example, a good hook for you would be stop buying real estate. And people are like, what the hell? That's what you teach. Like those hook rates of like me, I have ads that say stop running traffic, stop running ads. And
I know,
people
Grant
listen.
Cardone just said, don't buy a house.
Yeah. And then it's like,
I tell people, never pay off your mortgage.
Yeah.
People are like, what? All the Dave Ramsey people come after me on that one.
and like after all the millions I've spent on ads, that has actually been the best winning hook rates throughout all the ads that I've ever ran, is saying that thing in the beginning.
Contradict yourself and have a reason why.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think people should invest in real estate. I think that most strategies suck energy, suck money, suck time, suck life. I actually hate real estate. There's actually only there's literally only 2 strategies that I believe in with real estate, and I think the rest are awful.
What is that?
Pulled you in, didn't I?
Yeah.
Use your hack. So you're about to take a break. How are you going to peek in on your company to make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to?
Yeah, so the thing that we're going to be basically accepting is just the fact that I'm going to be doing like 1 call a week with Casey in the first like 6 months.
That's the CEO.
Yeah, just to kind of like bring things into KPI, see if he has any questions, concerns, like.
Yeah.
Because if I don't, like, I'm not throwing him to the wolves, but if I don't throw him to the wolves,
Yeah.
then he has no reason to learn.
Yep.
And he'll have to learn. He'll be forced to learn.
Do you mind if I give you a little piece of advice?
Yeah, of course.
So you may want to consider for the first 90 days, like you probably have a weekly department meeting, right? Just where the heads of
Yeah.
those 41 people meet.
Yep.
You may want to have your active call with Casey once a week. And by the way, in 6 months, don't stop that call.
Okay.
Actually, don't ever stop that call. I'll tell you one thing you could replace it with, but what you may want to do the first 90 days is actually just sit in on the weekly management meeting and just literally be silent. Just be quiet. And then when you do your one-on-ones with Casey, look at what he did, look at the decisions he made, look at the lack of leadership, look at the leadership strength, look at the decisions you agreed with and disagreed with, and then provide him feedback so that when you're in your one-on-one, you're actually witnessing him working in that's the most expensive meeting of his week, is the management meeting. So just sit in and observe it for the first 90 days because you'll know within the first month where you're like, oh my gosh, I definitely don't need to be here. Or it's like, I'm so glad because Casey still needs more training and this is actually a great way to do it.
Yeah.
So you may want to consider that.
No, of course. I appreciate it.
When you have a very competent CEO, at some point you can graduate to being a member of the board that basically says we're having a once a month board meeting. Mm-hmm. It could be once a quarter. So at some point you can distance yourself more, but only after you have proven track record.
Yeah, of course.
Only after they're crushing it.
I love it.
So.
Yeah, we have 2 leadership meetings a week. So I chime in on one, and then we have the other call, just me and him. So that should help.
Yeah, no, I like that. It's you're right. Throw them to the wolves, but observe because if you are wrong in any way, shape, or form, only you pay the price. Everyone else does, but you'll pay the biggest price. Yeah. And I'm just speaking from some experience on that one. Who loves to throw people to the wolves and back off? There's this principle in business about empowering people, and the idea of it is, I'm empowering you to make the decisions, and that means that it really is your decision. And I'm just going to watch and observe. But as the owner of the company, I always tell my CEO, I said, I deserve the right to veto. And I veto something probably once a year in a private one-on-one meeting, just saying, hey, I've been watching this from afar. I've been watching the way you're building up to this decision. I've been there 3 times. I've done that. It never worked out with the decision that you're making. Like, I'm going to pull veto power here. Don't make that choice. Other than that, it's always empower. But it is your company at the end of the day. And so if you empower all the way, sometimes you'll pay a price for that.
Yeah.
So you just got to find your balance with it.
Yeah, of course.
But it's exciting. So you're going to focus on travel. You're going to focus on your dating life. That's suffered how many hours you work in a week?
Probably like 35-ish, 30.
Okay, so you're still not like crazy entrepreneur 50, 60, 80 hours a week.
Yeah. I mean, more of my time extra would be like the extra 15, 20 hours a week would be like me building our low ticket offers and running our ads and doing all like the creative stuff to just bring better quality leads into the ecosystem.
So if you're about to get all your time back in January, other than travel and dating life, like what are you most excited about doing with your reclaimed time?
Crazy part is about that is honestly just being able to sit back and just like reflect on the things that I've done and maybe just go through all the mistakes that I've made and just have more time to digest and think about those mistakes. Like there's been so many things that I've done over the past 5.5 years. Like I've lost 3 girlfriends I shouldn't have lost because I was just too busy and I didn't want to commit. I let my ex-girlfriend steal my dog. Like I did all these things just because I was trying to be nice. And like, I was just trying to, not lose a name that I was building and like, just so many mistakes that I made, man. It just kind of sucks. And the money never really solved it because I can't like go buy another dog and think it's the same dog. I can't like reverse that thing. So I think better decision making, stuff that I still got to work out from my childhood. Like I still have a little bit of childhood traumas, like around money or around like love and affection. Like that's very true. Just things that I never was able to face because that control problem. Like even when I didn't have to work, I still felt like I needed to have control over something. Like going into Slack and just like talking to a client real quick when I didn't even freaking have to. Like doing something that didn't make any sense just so I could feel like I was still a part of the conversation still. And it's just little things that I have to get, like, that I still have to get over. So like being able to sit there, have all the time to sit back and say, all right, like I'm fucked up a little bit. How do I fix it? Here's my problems. I need solutions.
Yeah, you're a very interesting human being to me because most humans don't operate that way, especially at your age. But here's what's really cool what you're doing. I always tell people, hey, try to get to a business passively that's making at least $500,000 a year. $500,000 doesn't make you rich, but $500,000 says I can pick my neighborhood, I can pick my cars, and I can pick as much travel as I want. Yeah. And if you're an owner instead of an operator, you also not just have enough money, you have money for a nice lifestyle, you have money to invest, money to save, but now you also have the time freedom too. And it's just like, what do you do with that time freedom? I'm like, well, how we do some things is how we do all things. And so it's like, you're probably going to go back into business and want to found something 10 times bigger and go chase the next big, significant, shiny. Yeah. But actually taking a pause to work on you, for me, like in my life, after I retired the very first time, the very first thing I did was actually hire some different personal development coaches that had specialization in childhood trauma, paradigm, belief structure, and just said, hey, I don't want to do this, but will you tear me open and figure out what's wrong with me? Yeah. Because it was weird. I had the money and I had the success, and it didn't actually make me happy.
Yeah. It doesn't make me any happier either. Like, I thought that hitting $100,000 a month was exciting. And then I was like, all right, next goal is $500,000 a month. I hit $500,000 a month. Like, dude, nothing changed.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same shit. Nothing changed for me. And
except they can magnify it. So sometimes more money, when they say more money, more problems, I'm like, well, money magnifies. So whatever you're dealing with will probably get bigger.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like, now I've gotten to that breaking point where I'm like, hey, like, even if I make $1 million a month, which I haven't done yet, even if I make $1 million a month, my life won't change.
Yeah. Super.
So that's why I went into the event business. So like, we're running the agency, and then I decided to do a tour. So we're running the scale.
Are you doing paid ads to build events?
Yeah. Dude, we are.
You say that like you're liking it.
Oh, hell
what's your
yeah.
ROAS on that?
Over 15. And we're running free events, no paid. Yeah. It's all free events. We get 100 business owners in a room, and then I pitch them. And dude, it's crushing. Like, we just decided to do, because when I'm not CEO in January 1st, I'm taking January off because I am traveling. I'm going to Barbados for a month to chill out and just like think about my life for 30 days. And then after that, I'm going on tour. And I'm just running the events. Nothing with clients, no Slack, no crap like that. And we're doing one event a week in multiple cities. And I'm just going to travel and enjoy my life and do the things that I know I'm good at. Like the events in person, me talking, me speaking, me pouring passion into people in person without having to deal with the deliverable afterwards. I'm better at that. Because I'm like, hey, like I could sell you on a package, but like I'm not going to do the work afterwards. Like my team will take care of it. And I get to pack my shit up after this event's over and leave.
Yeah.
And that's where
that you look almost like that's going to be fun and really.
Dude, I feel so
liberated. Because you get to freaking sell, you get to create results, and then you get to bail.
Yeah. Like, dude, we'll spend, maybe $5,000 on a venue, another $6-7 in ads to get people in the room, get 125 in a room, and I can make $150 in a weekend. So it's like, the funny part is that me running one event a week will get us to $1 million a month without me being in the business anymore.
Yeah. It's good strategy. Is there any part of you that's like, shoot, that also looks a little like my dating life?
I mean, the only thing
I had 3 girls I shouldn't have let go.
Yeah. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is the weekly travel.
Yeah.
Because I have to get there on a Friday, leave on Tuesday morning. How is that going to work? Like, I don't know.
If you get a private jet, it works a lot easier. I'll tell you that much.
And I've been really thinking about that, honestly. And I'm like, setting $1.5 million, $2.5 million to get a jet might not be a bad idea.
Yeah.
So, it's just, I know that I'm not good sitting in Slack and doing the computer stuff, but being in person, like I get to say what I want to in person because they're not my clients yet.
Yeah.
If they're clients, I can't curse at them and stuff. Like if I'm in person and someone says something stupid in person, like I'll curse them out at the event. I don't care. I'm like, dude, like what kind of question was that? Like, why would you ask that? So I can be my full self.
And you love that.
Dude, I'm very liberated about that fact that that's where my time should be spent.
You want to have fun?
Yeah.
What's unresolved from your childhood? Like when you think of the most
unresolved thing was probably, and the funny part is when we were talking about the gym stuff before, I played basketball at a really high level when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I was 4'11" and I was 70 pounds and I was a senior in high school. Before that, 5 years before, I was playing as a 7th grader. I was playing JV basketball. I was getting recruited to play D1. And they're like, yeah, you're going to grow. Like, you're going to grow. We're going to, I was getting recruited by Dayton and a bunch of D1 schools. And that was my thing. And I never went to the gym, and I was so good at basketball. I was like, I don't have to go to the gym. I'm so elusive. I'm so quick. I can shoot the lights out. Like, dude, I was averaging like 25 points a game playing in JV as a 7th grader.
Wow. Okay.
And I was disgusting. And then my parents were pouring money that they didn't even have, taking money out of a college fund to get me in these camps, like Hoop Group and 5-Star. People who are listening know what I'm talking about. And then I didn't wind up growing. And I actually had a growth deficiency. And that summer that I wind up going to culinary school, that's when I had to take HGH to make myself grow. Like, dude, I was very skinny. It was bad.
So not for height. You're just talking about trying to like fill out.
Oh, dude, I didn't hit puberty until I had HGH. So like that was like caused me to get bullied, and like I couldn't play basketball at high level. Like, dude, I'm 70 pounds driving down the lane. There's a kid who's 5'10", 160 who fucking bumps his shoulder into me. Like, dude, I can't elusively pass him. There's just no way. Like, the physicality wasn't there.
What did you when you go to the most destructive moment from that? Like, when you think about the most disappointing moment, the moment when you're like, my basketball career is over. Can you find that moment?
Yeah.
What did you like go there? What was happening?
I went to a basketball camp in Rhode Island that I was being asked to go to be recruited, and there were a bunch of kids there that were 6'1", 5'10", 5'11". I was playing these scrimmages, all these big colleges that were all D1 schools like LSU, Clemson. This shit is just staring at me. And I'm playing, and dude, I'm used to scoring 20 points a game. I went 2 straight games. I only scored 1 bucket each, and they were fast break layups that a freaking 5-year-old could score. And that's the moment I realized I was like, dude, I can't compete with these kids. These kids are just too physical.
In that moment that you said, I can't compete with these kids, what did you actually decide about yourself?
That like I just had to figure something else out. I had to figure out worth in something. And the crazy part is that the worth that I found was, okay, well, I'm not physical, so I'm just going to make a ton of money and be one of those guys sitting on the sideline.
This is why you're picking on the gym guys.
Yeah.
I get you now.
Yeah. And that was my thing. I was like, you know what?
You basically said you had to fortify a mindset that said, I have to find a way to win in life without being the guy that could go to the gym. Because frankly, I don't know if I can go to the gym and get big because I had this growth deficiency thing. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to even do that. And why would you play a game you can't win at? You wanted to win.
Oh, yeah.
So you found a game that you could win at.
Yeah, which was just me being smarter and having more common sense and being like, all right, you know
what? So
you
are intelligent.
Yeah, I mean, I am. But okay, so there's a story that I always go to.
Yeah.
It's actually very fruitful for people listening, which is the story about the kid who falled while rock climbing. And there was this kid who was 15, and his father was stationed in Japan during the war. And he was out with his friends rock climbing, and his friend got hurt. He fell, and he had to take him to the hospital. And they go through the wrong entrance in the hospital, and they pass this guy in the hall, and he was a janitor. And they pass this guy. They go to the doctors. The doctors don't know how to fix this kid's infection. They're scurrying around. They don't know how to solve it. They're bringing all the nurses. No one can figure it out. And the crazy part is that they call in the janitor. He was actually a Baruku. He was a Japan untouchable. And they
I don't know what a Baruku is.
It's basically like there are people who are known for holistically healing through pathways that are not through normal medicine.
Got it. Okay.
But he was a janitor because he didn't present himself well. And that's the whole angle. It's like the doctors, they knew that this guy who was the janitor didn't dress well, didn't present himself well, like wasn't somebody who you would go to for advice. But they only called him in when they needed him because he was right, and that's all that mattered. And that story always stuck with me. He's like, okay, regardless of how I look, how I dress, people are going to come to me because I'm going to be the one who's right.
Wow.
And that was the story that always stuck with me for years on end.
Can I tell you what's beautiful is that when you have a trauma, like for you, like all that energy you had put into basketball and then getting cut that way, that's perceived trauma, right? And our mind doesn't know that there's any perceived and actual trauma. Mm-hmm. And here's what most people would have done. Instead of deciding, I'm going to find a way, they decide I'll never find a way. Yeah. Instead of deciding I'll force myself to be enough, I'll create value somewhere, they decide I'm never enough.
Yeah, because for most, that's their identity leading forward. And like the whole, angle of, hey, well, once you're 26, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people who really don't get the success that they want past the age of 18 to 26 is because they're the ones who played football in high school. They were really good. And they're like, I was so good in high school. I played football. I was a jock. I got a bunch of women. And now they're losers because they just can't lose that. They can't drop that self-identity to be someone of actual significance that people look up to.
Well, the moment that changed my life was when I had found out I was too dumb to be a doctor. My brain didn't work in the sciences, worked in sales. And I went home one day just having this awful, it was just a bad day. I was up at 5 a.m. I was on school and campus, for 8 hours in class for a degree that I didn't care about. I was really actually an undeclared major at that point. And I went to my telemarketing job, and I was new at it. So I wasn't good at sales yet, and I was just getting reamed on the phone by a couple of people. And 1 hour in, I'm like, I'm just going to take early lunch. This sucks. And I was newlywed. I got married when I was really young, like 22.
Wow.
And so I drove home to see my wife. And when I got to the door, I had this really bad feeling that something wrong had happened. And I'm like, shoot, did someone die? Just if something fell off. So I knocked on the door. My wife, Colleen, opened it. She let me in. It was this tiniest apartment that you could buy as a one bedroom. She was standing in the hallway under this can light that was reflecting right on her face and her cheeks, and it was showing that she had been crying. And I'm like, okay, I felt the bad energy out the door. Now I see something is wrong. And I didn't want to ruin the moment. I didn't know what to say, so I just stood there. And finally she said something that surprised me. It wasn't what I thought she was going to say. She said, hey, Chris, tuition is due in 3 weeks, and we don't have the money. And I'm like, okay, we'll probably have to go into debt. She did. That was like her worst nightmare. And then before I could say anything, she said, we have rent due in 5 days, and we can't pay it. And then I was like, oh, my mind immediately was like, I don't know how to solve that. Like, what happens? Do we get kicked out? Does the sheriff come and take all of our crap and put it on the lawn? Yeah. But then when she opened her mouth the last time, Jason, that's when I had like my breaking moment. She said, I went grocery shopping, and I was buying our usual 5 days worth of groceries, and the check bounced. And I was so embarrassed that I left the store in a panic, empty-handed. And when I got home hours later, she was hungry because our cupboards were literally empty. And it was in that moment that I was like, okay, what are you going to do, Chris? Because I grew up in a family where my parents fought about money. And I'm like, is this it? Is this the beginning of the same pattern?
Same here.
And I remember in that moment, I did make a couple of poor decisions. I felt small. I felt pathetic. I felt like I had failed this woman that I loved so much. But in that moment, I made a different decision. I think similar to you, I said, I am going to do whatever it takes to never have to be in this position again. Mm-hmm. And 4 years later, I was financially independent as a new graduate, and I didn't have to get a job like all my friends because I was done. And I think that in our deep moments of trauma, this is when we make some of the most important decisions of our life, because when something awful happens, someone will decide I'm not enough. And someone can also, in that same opportunity, make a very different decision about how unstoppable and amazing and incredible and limitless they are.
Yeah.
You decided that I can't create value this way, so I will find the way that I can. Instead of being defeated, you said, I'm going to find a different way to have victory.
Yeah.
And that's where you're at. Yeah. So there is some work to do on it. But brother, you made a beautiful choice that's led to some great success, and now you are giving yourself the gift of some time to work through the rest of it. It's good.
That's great. I'm really excited about it.
Now, for any entrepreneurs that are listening that they're like, shoot, I'm not his age, I'm way older, and I have not found my groove, what would you say? What would you say to those that are maybe losing faith in themselves? Maybe they've picked up an inferiority complex, a failure complex, and they're thinking about just giving up. What would you say to that person?
I would really just tell them to dive into like what they know they're good at that they don't really think at a bird's eye view they can monetize. There's got to be something that they're good at. They're personal people, or they're good at writing, wherever the case may be. Like,
it's weird though. Most human beings can't see what they're good at. They take it for granted because it's natural to them.
And the crazy part is that I think, and I could be wrong, but I think that most people who are that old who can't make up their choice, it's because they've already made enough choices that have made them distracted. Yeah. And there's something that my mentor...
I like what you just said. They're distracted.
Because my mentor, Jason Capital, always said to me, dude, people are not stupid or lazy. They're just distracted. So that guy who's 35, it's hard for him to make choices when he's lost because he either has a wife, 2 kids, or a bunch of shit on his plate, and any decision that he makes puts everybody else at jeopardy, and he just can't take on all the weight. And I think that distraction from making all the choices that they didn't make when they were younger, that's why between 20 and 26, 28-ish are the most important years, I believe, in anyone's life, because that's where you have the most youthfulness to make even shit decisions and bounce
recover.
back
Yep.
and then go all in on what you're good at. And once you turn 35, man, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Then they make these bad choices when they're younger. It depends what choices you do make, but I see too many people who are getting married and having kids at like 18, 17. Like, you see all these young people having kids in high school, dude. I grew up with it. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
No guidance. And it starts in the home. And the parents, it's bad parenting. Parents get split. They can't recover from the traumas. Like, it's really bad. And it starts in the home. But you just got to sit there and think about what you're good at that makes you happy with the least amount of effort, and just go all in on that. Because you trying to learn a new skill, to be honest, your marketing behavior will change, and most people don't want to change their behaviors.
So it's interesting. I have a video that went viral this last week because I talked about why I pulled my kids out of school, and no one seemed to like the fact that when I was doing parent-teacher conference with my seventh grader's teacher, who is 200 pounds overweight, I just said no. Like, if you're going to spend 6 hours a day with my daughter influencing her, no. Like, I don't believe in you. Like, you're wearing your problems on your body. Everyone wears their problems differently. Some people have vices. Yours is so obvious and is so seen with the fat suit that you're wearing. And there's no shame here. I just don't want your sad, depressed, unmotivated self attempting to teach my daughter, the basics of schooling, while your example is teaching her so much more.
Dude, that's a completely valid claim, though. I would say the same thing.
Yeah. But I pulled them out, and what I did is I decided, there's a lot of things we teach in school I just don't think matter. But what we've been doing is saying, what are you naturally good at? What brings you joy? What do you do with great ease? Let's lean into that, and let's see if we can monetize that, or find a skill or hobby or something fun out of that.
Yeah. The thing I see that's really funny about people who are very artistic are people who draw really well. I've had tons of friends in the past who draw really well, or they paint really well, and whenever you tell them they do it, they're like, it's just a hobby.
Yeah.
Like, I just
they
do
downplay it.
And I'm just like, dude, you draw so well. Go all in on that
I think
shit.
that's the hint right there, is that if you downplay it, it's probably amazing.
Yeah.
It's probably the thing you should. Yeah. Brother, you got an exciting turn of events. I want to hit you up on some of my event stuff that I do, and see if we can create a little bit of magic there. But brother, thank you for coming on today. Thank you for keeping it real. Thank you for keeping it honest. Thank you for pissing off 90% of all the people that find you online. No, it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and you've also been just incredibly vulnerable and just real. Yeah. And then that's what I think that there's so much value really taking successful people and just kind of taking them apart one bolt at a time and just saying, why are you this way? Why are you that way? You allowed us to do that today, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate you too, man. Thank you.
Listen, if people are interested in what you do professionally, or they want to follow you online, how should they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at the Jason Wojo. So at THE Jason WOJO on Instagram and every single social platform out there. And then if they want to work with me privately, they can go to jasonrunsads.com/scale, and you could book a demo call with us and see if you're a good fit.
Guys, check out Jason. Jason, thank you for being here today on the Chris Crone Show. Wishing you the very best in all your travels you got coming up, your love life, and we'll see y'all next time.
Yep. Thank you.